another discipline of yoga. So if you do have a large bolster, that would be good to take out now. And I think for most of you, if you don't have the bolster, you're used to just using blankets or pillows. So we want to make something that is about the size of this bolster. So we can simply put the pelvis on it. And I want to do this more for relaxation than for the intensity of the contraction into the pelvis. So if this is a little high, go a little bit lower. You can roll up a blanket, you can fold up a towel. But what we want to do is we want to just put this behind us, whatever height you have, and then just set up on the back of the pelvis onto this bolstering. Yeah, so it's not the lower back. Bring your upper body down. And I just keep my feet on the floor till I feel like I have the right spot. And then I'll just let my legs relax out. And if this is, intense or a lot of feelings, this is just such a sensitive area, you can come down a little bit. I really am trying to bring the upper body, the heart, a little bit lower than the hips, so we can allow the blood to relax into the brain and the heart, and mostly relax here. And certainly we'll get some of the benefit into the pelvis, but mostly to just sort of check in with this foundational anatomical center of the body. So yeah, and anything that works to bring and support the pelvic area. If you're feeling it in the lower back, bring the bolstering down a little bit more towards the upper back of the thighs, the buttocks, but that general sort of hip, front, pelvis, sacral spine in the rear. Just begin to relax whatever it is that is calling for relaxation. One of the great benefits of this practice is that there's not a lot to do. There's not a lot of instruction. There's not a lot of technique. So we have the opportunity to just expand our sensory experience into more of the body, the mind, the heart than we're usually occupying. Usually our waking time is so dominated by our thinking, by our obsession with the past and the future, that we seldom give ourselves the opportunity to feel into just the expansive nature of ourselves, however we're experiencing or currently holding that. So that would be the first thing, is just to relax into yourself, relax into your breathing, into your belly. And as I said, the invitation of this opening position is really to rest. So I just want to take that just a little bit deeper, if you will, because in this exploration, resting has a quite a beautiful context. Yeah, we're not just not doing nothing, but we're in a way we're making a discernment between a sense of discipline. So I opened up with the first sutra, now the discipline of yoga. But this is not the discipline of doing something we don't want to do. This is the discipline of knowing ourselves, of coming into a certain knowingness, wherever that opening allows for us, and really cultivating, ultimately what we're cultivating, and I do believe with all of my heart that ultimately the teacher is clarity. So I'd just like to share this very short reading by John Aston. Is from a book called Searching for Rain in a Monsoon. And this short sharing is called Resting as Awareness. And this is the resting that I'm really referring to, and that ultimately is the invitation of yoga. Resting as awareness. When you rest as awareness, there's no need to engage in some activity or mental exercise in order to make yourself more aware. To rest is to simply see that awareness, that which knows this moment, requires no cause or effort for it to be. Notice that you can never find a time when the light of knowing is switched off. For everything that appears, each flashing thought and feeling, every sensation and perception is the vivid proof that awareness is already here. See that no matter how you may try to move or manipulate the mind, awareness remains itself aware. So rest this weary mind and see that no amount of doing will ever bring you closer to its light, the light of awareness that's always and already blazing like a million suns. And then part of this simple recognition is that this resting of awareness, this is fundamentally really where the teachings come from. You know, the teachings are not these words or this this knowledge that we take in through the mind. The teachings are much, much vaster than that. The teachings come from this resting as awareness. The teachings come from quiet and silence. And this is where I said earlier, what we're cultivating is clarity. So it's not something we need to do. It's not something we need to get more of. It's not something we can or want to try to get right. It's this resting in this depth of ourselves, which is this quiet, which is this awareness, which is this silence. And then, of course, for most of us, the mind will, often rebel towards this notion, because the mind wants to feel important. It wants to hold a certain self-image of ourselves. So it will rebel against this deeper, restorative resting. Or it will get bored. Yes, so boredom really is nothing more than resistance. Boredom is an energy that wants to draw you back into self-identification. So boredom or any kind of mental discomfort, just simply be with it. Use any discomfort, uh, however it may appear. Yes, if it appears as boredom, if it appears as distraction, if it appears as I'm not doing this right, whatever the the mental suggestions are, whatever the physical body is feeling, whatever's going on inside the smallest corner of your heart, any resistance, any discomfort, just simply be with it. Honor this as your capacity to go into that energy and see what's there. So we push nothing away, we judge nothing. We're simply resting as this awareness, because the awareness has the perspective that it's all good. It's all just arising. And it's arising for a reason, for us to be able to examine it, to non-judgmentally explore it. And just how incredibly beautiful is that? So if you would like to bring your knees up to your chest, or at least put your feet on the floor, you could maybe move the knees back and forth a little bit, but just ease in with a little passive motion here to sort of sway into the lower back, into the pelvis a little bit. Notice how it feels. And do please take your time. This is one of the things, in a way, you might say that we're offering to the body. We're offering the body this gift of moving slowly and listening to the subtlety of how it's feeling. The openness and the flow that comes, after the practice, that's just a consequence. But we want to stay in touch with how we're feeling moment to moment, because there's information there, there's guidance there. So knees up, knees back and forth, a little swing, a little rocking motion. And then when you feel ready, you can either begin to roll off whatever bolstering you have, or you can just push it forward. And let's lie down and rest for a little bit here. And please don't get me wrong. I'm not saying that there is, anything wrong with discipline. The kind of traditional discipline that that we've come to think of it as sort of pushing ourselves in a direction. Lord knows I've used it enough in my life. So if we have a specific task and we want to accomplish something, that yes, sometimes we use the creativity of our will in a disciplined way. What I'm talking about is when we want to explore the real nature of our reality, the real nature of ourself. What is this this awareness? What is this beingness, this presence that we seem to be? And so this is where we want to let go of agenda. We want to let go of a map to this. We want to let go of that discipline that says, well, I'm going to do the mantra, or I'm going to meditate for this long, or I've got to, whatever it happens to be. What I'm suggesting, at least from the perspective of this non-dual awareness, is that cultivating clarity will then guide you to where and what you need to be doing. The clarity will guide the practice. The clarity will invite the insight. And as far as I can tell, and this is not always the case, but as far as I can tell, and I'm generalizing, is that the more we learn how to deeply relax, how we really learn to let go of, not only physical relaxation, but all of the mental mechanisms that keep us preoccupied and concerned and self-identified. The more we begin to relax that energy and deeply come into this space of just open-ended awareness, relaxation, deep quiet and safety, then this clarity then becomes the most divine presence of guidance and exploration. Okay, so let us come on up, please, and just work your way up. And we're going to bring the legs out in front, approximately hip width distance. And seeing my legs, just to make a note that hip width doesn't mean that we want to hold them with the feet activated and the quadriceps activated. So really just honor the angle of your hips here, your hip flexors. So hip width for me is most comfortable at pretty much this width. I could bring them in a little bit, but I like it right here. And then the second option, two things I want to show you, is we can do this without anything under the knees, depending on how you're feeling, lower back and hamstring. Or if you want to bring something over, and again, if you don't have the small bolster, you can just roll up a blanket. So this just alleviates some of this back of the leg holding and allows you to come forward. The other thing to keep in mind from the perspective of our yin, we're not coming forward with lengthening the back and trying to stretch forward. Yes, because this will just activate these intrinsic muscles, and then they will sort of take most of the stress. What we're preferring to do is to really relax first. You see, it's just almost like a slumping here. So I can relax the intrinsic muscles of my lumbar, and then it's a weight of the upper body, and you'll feel this weight then pulling you into a relatively unengaged place. So we don't want lengthening and stretching. We want softening and relaxing. And then just as this relaxation comes, you just naturally let the head dangle where it is. If the head needs some support, then certainly bring in, if it feels a little unsafe in the neck, you can bring in some pillows or bolsters to support the head. But you could also let it dangle if this feels okay. So let's do that. Let's come forward with the legs out about hip width. Yes or no, something under the knees, and just notice how this feels. Notice the relationship with the body beginning to contract a bit and the breath contracting a bit. So one of the things we're always very interested in is this interrelationship between the breath reflecting the tension in the body and the body reflecting the tension in the breath. So for this practice, ultimately what's recommended is to just allow the body and the posture to guide you to whatever breathing pattern feels most supportive. But to start off, it's nice just to check in and relax the breath as much as possible. And this can also be a guidance system that if we're too contracted, too much density, the discomfort is distracting and the breath becomes a little labored or short, better to back off a bit, calm the breath, relax the breath, and let the body respond to that.
Good. So let's come on up from here. We're going to keep this general framework of forward bending, but we're just going to change it up a bit. So let's come on up. And before we go back down, if you could just interlock your fingers behind your back and then trying to keep the elbows straight, however much you can bring them up, yeah, without trying to hunch the shoulders up towards the head. So try to relax them a bit, keep the fingers interlocked a bit. And if you can't interlock the fingers, you can just bring the arms up. We just want to kind of open the clavicles and the sternum and the rib cage and make a little bit more room for the respiratory diaphragm. You can move your head around nice and slowly if you'd like and feel what that feels like. Good. So you can release the arms now, bring them forward. So with this position of both legs at hip width, let's leave the right leg extended exactly where it is, and we'll bring the right leg in. So we'll just put the sole of that left foot somewhere along the inside of that right leg, and feel free to experiment with the angle. Again, hip flexor will dictate this. We don't want it all tight and contracted. We want as much loosening in the joints and the muscles as we come into these positions, and then we naturally come to a place of resistance. And this is where the exploration really starts, is when you start not resisting the resistance but not pushing past it, and just kind of feel into it. Try to drop the head down even if you need to support it, and just relax down. And so I'm recommending for this, if you had something under both knees, don't have anything under the right knee. So we can now get into the back of the leg a little bit. And this doesn't necessarily need to be straightforward, where we don't need to bring the forehead towards that left foot. You can sway a little bit and see where and how that, those lower back muscles, the pelvis is holding. So if you need to be off to the right or the left a little bit, just really let the sensations, dictate where you wind up in the posture. This is this body, this somatic intelligence. This is the kind of intelligence that we cannot think our way to it. So we don't need to control the thinking process, but you can certainly let that rest as well. Every once in a while, go ahead and take 2 to 5 seconds and just stop thinking. Just let it be this surface static, but just stop it. Just let it be, rest it. And what this does is this gives us a lovely opportunity to see that, oh, I'm still conscious. There's still a presence here. I am. And we get to then see how much we are continually adding to I am. I am uncomfortable. I am preoccupied. I am concerned. And on and on and on and on. So the opportunity is to slip below, if you will, slip below this, mental, this mental emotional maze of the thoughts, and just connect with this presence, this awareness that's independent of this thinking. It's observing the thinking. And this then is this is where we start to cultivate, where we start to explore this intelligence that we can't think our way to. And this is this is vast, and this is, this is the same intelligence that makes the clouds and makes the stars, makes the flowers and the birds. Same intelligence. It's who we are. Good. So let's come on up from here then. And let's take that left leg that we had bent and straighten it. And we'll just switch places. We'll leave the left leg extended. We'll bring the right leg up and in. And then again, we'll come forward. So again, really loosen, relax, soften, curve, and engage that lower back. Be curious on the way down. Even if you've done this, over and over again, your body's holding tension a little bit differently every day. So the curiosity is a big part of this. And then once you feel like, okay, here's a thread to explore, then just relax into that. I actually did try counting the stars one night, and I think I got pretty close. And then I got distracted. And I thought, wow, I'm not going to start this over again. And then I realized, oh, wait, you cannot apprehend something that is infinite with a finite mind. And then I just gave up and enjoyed the night show. No, I don't really think I got close. I think I got up to I don't know, like 101 or something. I think there's a lot more than that. So I didn't really get close to counting them all. But. Letting your energy expand, but also really letting your energy move. Try not to superimpose a boundary between mental energies, emotional energies, physical energies, and any other energies you feel are in your presence. Let the boundaries be just very soft. So there's nothing to do. We're not contemplating anything specific. We're contemplating ourselves as a totality, as much as we're able to do that, and whatever that means to us. So you can go back to this I am anytime you would like, when you feel like you're leaning too much into thoughts or too much into emotions or too much physical density, pain, discomfort. Just withdraw a bit and go back to I am. Go back to the presence. Go back to just yourself as pure awareness. And then see if there's a way that you're holding something in the mind, the heart, or the body that possibly you don't need to be holding. It possibly is a pattern or conditioned. And you don't have to hold this. Again, don't make this a discipline. cultivate clarity of this I am presence without anything added to it. Good, so let's come on up from here. And let's straighten out that bent leg once again. And so where you've been at hip width distance, I'm going to suggest just opening that a bit, but not to a full straddle. So what I'm merely suggesting is to let those hips relax a little bit more. So maybe halfway between a straddle and hip width distance, and then same thing, we'll just come forward for one more time. So you can either relax down on your forearms or a bolster, a pillow, or just come all the way down, whatever your range of motion allows. But let it be a softening. Try not to try not to be any forcing. Nothing past where you couldn't just stay there just for a really long time and relax and just let the energy of the body really express itself to you. I just want to say a little bit more about this energy of boredom and this energy of boredom as resistance, because I think it's something that a lot of us deal with, sometimes very consciously and often sometimes unconsciously. But these slow, long-held yoga asanas are a lovely way to explore that because we have nothing to do, and so sometimes the barrier feels like it's just a resistance we can't put our finger on, and it can be interpreted as boredom. So what I'm suggesting is the boredom ultimately is just a form of resistance. And if we move away from that resistance, we're not giving ourselves the opportunity to go into deeper aspects of ourself. So all of these discomforts, all of this resistance is just part of our patterning, part of our conditioning that's keeping us at a certain layer, you might say. And sometimes that we need that for functioning. But when we come into our practice, when we come into this container of ourself, we want to go deeper. We want to go into deeper aspects of ourself. We want to genuinely connect with this self as presence, with this self as I am. And I'm suggesting from personal experience, this is not esoteric. This is available to all of us. It doesn't take a formula. It doesn't take a mantra. It doesn't take more teachings or teacher. It takes this ability and this willingness to relax deeper and deeper into oneself. And when the resistances arise, stay with them, feel them, experience them. These are what's holding some of these patterns in place. And boredom is a powerful one. It's a tricky one. Good. So let's come on up from here, please. And now let's take a rest. So just bring those legs together and lie down, and we'll take a nice rest. And more, I think what we get to explore, especially in this practice, which primarily is based on contracting and expanding. We didn't say anything more than that. That's what this practice is. And so that's what we're doing right now. What we're doing right now, we could call the rest expanding. We're just allowing the energy to release from the contraction of the pose, the contraction of the muscle. So I think what if we wanted to refine that a bit more, the way that we look at that is we don't want to leave anything out of it. And so we have the opportunity then to go, yes, from a physically dense, contracted place to a physically open and relaxed place. But we can also include, things like, feeling anxious or feeling small or feeling, preoccupied with this one thought or whatever it happens to be. We want to include that. We want to feel that. That's the contraction. But then we also want to let go and just feel everything in our whole essence as just energy. And then through that, we have more freedom. We don't stay in a place of imbalance where it's just the contraction. It's just the anxiety. It's just the preoccupation. It's just the feelings of insecurity. We allow those to be, but then we allow them to open and we allow them to morph into a and this morphing is so interesting to observe that nothing, no matter what it is, ever stays the same. Everything is morphing into something else, and we want to feel that morphing energy. We want to get close to that. What is the coloring and the flavoring of how your reality is actually morphing? Because the reason that's so important is because there is something that is not morphing, and that is your awareness. That is this sense of I am. So beautiful. Okay, so come on up, please. And I have a couple of pillows stacked here. If you don't have this larger bolster, then use some pillows that are stacked. But we want to allow the whole back line to arch as much as possible. Yeah. So I'll just show it with the pillows. And you also might want to have a secondary pillow or a blanket for your head. So whether you're using pillows or the large bolster, we'll just sit on the floor and pull your bolstering down as low as possible. Yeah, so we can really exaggerate the arch. And then keep the feet on the floor, tuck everything in, and allow the whole back line to arch as deeply as possible. If the buttocks come off the floor, either bring them back down, or you may be a little too high with your bolstering. So if that's the case, or it feels too intense, you can take a blanket or a towel and put it under the hips to elevate the hips a bit, to soften the depth of the backward bend, because we want to set it up to be here for a bit. So if you need that, please have that. And then again, coming back, if the back of the head feels too risky or unsafe for the threads of the neck, then use that towel to prop up the head a bit. But only prop up the head as much as you need to. A little bit of that discomfort in the neck is something worthy to explore, certainly as long as you feel safe. And then the arms can just, go off to the side wherever they're most relaxed. Just lay the forearms on the floor. So buttocks is either on the floor and or a towel or a blanket, but we want it stable. And the upper body is just arched over pillows, or the large bolster works well. And that would be not the length of the spine. I'm talking side to side, so the whole back is arching over something. And settle in, make sure it's a safe place. And sometimes you can tell in the beginning that you're able to relax and feel safe over time. And if that's the case, yes. If it feels a little tricky, it doesn't feel safe, check in with that. And nothing wrong with coming out and taking some depth out of it or readjusting. And sometimes you can't tell in the beginning, and sometimes you'll reach a point where, okay, it's either time to come out, your body's giving you signals, or it's time to reduce the contraction, or sometimes maybe even add a little bit more. So really be sensitive to the uniqueness of your own body. I said earlier that we're exploring this intelligence that we cannot think our way to. And this is just very, very valuable to to at least entertain what this means. To entertain and explore that right below the surface of your skin,
there's this, incomprehensible intelligence that is really running the whole show. We think that you take our vitamins and drink more water, and we are doing so much, but really we're doing such a small fraction of maintaining the complexity and the mystery of the body itself. Then there's this intelligence that's keeping things in sync, that's keeping things in balance, that's communicating. And so at a very physical level, what we're doing is we're trying to keep these pathways open. So yes, it's good to feel the fascial contraction in the pelvis and the back and the knees, and where we feel stiff and we're losing our range of motion. But at the level of the microtubules of the body, the fascia is connected and wraps and layers every part of your body. There's no part of your body that this connective tissue is not. And so when it dehydrates, when it contracts, when it becomes dense, it's literally blocking the flow of this intelligence. So this is where intelligence, the information, the connectivity, the light of the body, the bioelectrical light of the body is moving through. So if we want to really be healthy and thriving, we open up these pathways. And then we get in touch with, we cultivate with, we listen to this intelligence that's not the thinking intelligence. And then we come into this guidance system that's so incredibly simple, but it's also so beautiful of, does it feel good? Ah, yes, this is where I move. Does it feel bad? Don't go there. Does it feel good? Yes. Does it feel bad? No. And it can be as simple as that, but within that simplicity, there's just a whole amazing matrix of complexity and subtlety. So allow yourself to move into the subtlety of your own bio intelligence. Nothing to think about. Again, I said earlier, yoga, and non-duality, and life, we don't need to and we cannot understand, but we can feel, we can intuit, we can breathe it. We can allow the edges to soften a bit. And this is at the point where the teachings, whether they're ancient teachings or contemporary teachings, and the teachers, whatever their capacity, are simply reminding us of what we already know. So this is how I know when a teaching is valuable, where there's just this recognition of like, oh, thank you, I know that. Yes, thank you, I know that. And this is precisely what I'm suggesting, to allow the thinking to shut down. And I'm just talking a short amount of time, just a couple of seconds. Just don't think. And go to that I am, and don't add anything to it. And just feel that presence. See if there's a recognition there. See if there's something there.
Just very gently connecting back with your breathing. Let it be gentle, let it be subtle, but feel just the subtle quality of the inhale and feel the subtle quality of the exhale. So such um, an interesting study is how the inhale feels somehow different than the exhale. The qualities, even though they're really in terms of rhythm, they're one thing, but they possess so many qualities. And just in the cycle of an inhale to an exhale and an exhale to an inhale, there's just universes to explore in there. It just slows us down and allows us to open to a certain spaciousness. So let's put the feet flat on the floor. And again, the reminder is to go slow here. We're going to just take some time to explore the energy of the release. Very good to feel. So with the feet on the floor, many things you could do here. You can just let the knees have a little sway back and forth. You could roll over onto the rib cage, left or right. Start to bring the knees up. Whatever feels conducive to feeling now the transition again from the contraction to the expansion. That's our baseline. We've been contracting. You'll feel all of that being held, but as we release, you'll also feel it expanding. So take your time. Ultimately, we're going to come out of this and take another rest, but take as much time as you need here to come out. The other thing about this intelligence, we're really talking about, we can talk about this intelligence in many ways, but we're talking about something that is, unlimited, is, we could even, in religious terms, we could say it's divine, that it is life force, it is mysterious, but it also is open to possibilities. It's open to options. It's open to potential. So the things that we think, the thoughts, just simply crystallize as the body, crystallize as the way that we see and function in the world. But this is open to potential, it's open to possibilities. So when we start, not so much disengaging, but when we start removing some of the dominance from the way the mind is holding the body, the heart, and the world, and move more into the energetic presence of the body, it opens up these possibilities. And that's in terms of our health, our well-being, our relationships, our relationship to the earth and the collective, and just how we are available to this awakening process. So whatever our work in the world is, I think our fundamental responsibility is to wake up at this time, to wake up to what our true nature is and the potential of this energy and this life force moving through the body. And this is why, this practice is very much about, fluidity and relaxation and health, and just a way that you can approach the body that's maybe outside of something that we think is possible. Because what we think is possible, we're holding as a mental, often a mental emotional structure, but that is certainly fluid. This is the concept of plasticity. So just take as much rest as you would like here, especially after the backward bend. I know sometimes the temptation is to move into a counter pose, and fine after a while to do that if you like, but often the relaxation is more potent because it really lets that sort of fascial density and the fascial sort of entanglement to start to open a bit. This is what the fascia at every level responds to, whether it's a ligament or these microtubules. It responds to the compression and then the rest, the compression and then the rest. This is what's actually re-stimulating the life force in the cells themselves, and it's aiding the reproduction of our fluids, our synovial fluids, and the fluids of our body. This is another short reading from Searching for Rain in a Monsoon. I'm reading this one because underneath it I wrote, "This is yoga, and nothing more to find. Consider the possibility that there are no correct experiences to have, that no matter our experience, we can never be cast out of reality, never be thrown out of the totality that is life, because there is only the totality. Separation isn't possible. Let this sink in and stop you in your tracks. There is nothing more to find." Separation isn't possible. I'm so sorry to disappoint you if you have held the belief that you are a separate individual entity running around with all kinds of separate agendas and thoughts. Not possible. Okay, let's come on up, and I want to start with a little bit of just a little bit of a sitting twist. So just kind of listen and or watch this. Just a little bit different than going right into it typically. So let's take the left leg and we'll extend the left leg out, and then we'll bring the right leg up and over. I'm going to angle this way. So what I mean by the right leg up and over is we'll just cross it over that left leg, and I'm just sort of gently pulling that right foot back towards my left hip, but not forcing it. So the leg is just crossed over. And then from here, what I'd like you to do is you can take the left hand. And if you want to put a bolster back there so you don't have to lean on this left hand, you can have something to kind of lean on if you would like. So I want to start with a sitting twist, because what I'm going to suggest is to just twist. So just twist to the left, sort of allowing the spine to stay straight for a bit, and bring the chin over the shoulder a bit. So obviously this has some muscular holding to it, so we won't hold it for long. But then what I'm going to suggest is to then come down towards that right foot. So don't lessen it if you can help that, back towards the straight leg or in a little bit. What I'm going to suggest, even if you don't come down as deep, is just to lengthen the spine, elongate the spine, lean on this left hand, bring the chin towards the left shoulder, and we'll stay here for a bit. Yeah, just kind of feel this. So we're using a little muscular energy, yes, but also trying to relax. And then when you're ready, just relax the shoulders and bring the head more towards the foot. So you may not come as deep into it, and you may want to move that left hand up, put both hands on the floor on either side of the right foot, and just kind of relax into this sitting twist. So trying not to hold any tension now, but just relaxing into it. Yeah. And just be sensitive to all these connections and interconnections and fibers in the lower back, and just how this feels. And again, the physical tension is just simply, symbolic of resistance. The suggestion of this yoga is to not move away from the resistance, but to go deeper into it. Actually, be in a relationship with any resistance that you're holding, and see what's there. So when I say deeper aspect of yourself, it's not just in a spiritual way. This is a morphing of your energies that I said earlier, we really can't hold boundaries for. So the physical morphing into a feeling sense, a felt sense, the felt sense morphing into a thinking sense, this thinking sense morphing into a physical sense. And so we just kind of relax and feel and explore. And you may be just right, just at this point of stillness. If you find yourself contracting a bit and holding, and it feels awkward, or the discomfort is more just structural, then feel free to sway a bit. Feel free to maybe bring the shoulders head over to the right a bit and in a little bit, and don't be afraid of the movement. The movement and the stillness are just tools for you to explore the energetic aspects of your body. So even within this framework of the yin and the stillness, and always listen to what the deeper calling of the body and the mind need and want. It's open-ended, the way that you explore your body. Okay, so if you are off to the left here a bit, let's just bring now the spine back to straight. So we're going to come up from this, but let's go so the head is more over that left leg. Just a safer way to come out of this. Yeah, and then we'll just roll up from here, and we're going to continue with the left leg staying out, and we'll just take the right leg and we're going to bring it around back. So the left leg stays extended out, and this is, some of you might know this as the half frog position, where we're not bringing it in, the right leg in, so the knees are together. We're opening it out and back. Yeah. So just as much as this right hip starts to externally rotate and tug a little bit. Don't force it back, but you'll just feel that. And then for some of you, yes, you're going to be listing over to the left and put as much support over on the left as you need, if that's the case, to come forward. And you can play with that. You may put the support on the inside of the left leg, the outside of the left leg, or you may not need the support at all and just come to the hands. But this is a lovely, lovely hip opener, but also to explore different pathways of the hamstrings that can stay tight. So just allow the upper body to come forward in wherever it needs support and whatever feels best. And we'll just stay here for a bit. And I think it was Nancy was saying, appreciating being able to just, come in and out of these poses and just do, a couple or just a shorter version of the practice. And I have to say, this is a very potent position to do if you're doing that, if you're just feeling like you want to connect with your body and there's a little bit of tension being held, because it opens up, it's torquing into the sacral pelvic area. It's torquing the hips. And so much of the density, the ligaments of the pelvis are just massive for us. So to kind of open this is a lovely position. And the more that we do this one, the less it can remove us from the awkwardness that we might feel from it. So I just love to come into this position and relax into it and settle into it and just feel how it's approaching the complexity of the sacral pelvic area, the hip area, the extended leg. So really bringing this sense of clarity to your noticing, it really on some level takes a very different kind of intelligent engagement with the body, especially since we're not being instructed. And typically when we are invited to a certain kind of relaxation, the focus, the mind, the concentration can get somewhat mushy. And there's not necessarily anything wrong with that, but we also want to know that this clarity is available to us. This intelligent engagement with what we're noticing is available to us. And this is where the subtlety, the gratitude and the appreciation that whatever it is, we can get subtler and subtler and subtler with it. This is a way we can explore anything. Good. So let's come up from here. Let's bring the upper body up and let's take that back leg and we'll bring it around front. I think let's just go into the other side of it. So just any sort of movement that you want here, just to loosen it up before we do the other side instead of resting. So the same thing on the other side, but we'll extend this right leg out, yes, obviously, and we'll take that left leg and bring it up and over. So we're crossing the left leg over, bringing the foot towards that right hip this time. So instead of just going down, what I'm advising is to bring the right hand now around back, either leaning on a bolster so you can relax the shoulders, or you could go to the fingertips or the floor if you'd like. And then take a moment just to elongate the spine, relax the shoulders, and then just bring the chin over the right shoulder. And we'll just stay here for a bit. Don't force it, but feel it. A different mode of intelligent engagement. Good. So from here, now we're going to try to go over towards that. Well, I say the left foot, depends where your left foot is. Just go as directly as you can onto the right side. So if the foot's way up near the knee, maybe not so much towards the foot, but just let your body guide you. So we're just really staying in a sitting twist, but we're relaxing into it, softening into it. And one of the things that I've been really appreciating about this refinement of noticing is that whatever it happens to be, whether it's something that I believe is external from me, if it's something I believe is internal, if it's something I believe is only mental or intellectual or emotional, whatever it happens to be, once we refine this noticing, we can explore it for ourselves. So I'm able to then see, what is this? What I initially react to or label or need to define, is it really that? So am I able to back up a bit, slow down a bit, and really use this mode of intelligent engagement and notice what it actually is. What is the nature of what I'm saying it is? And this is where the morphing comes in, that we can't really put our finger on it at that level, that we're much more spacious, energetic, free flowing beings than we ever imagined. And this is this is part of the practice. So this is why we refine this capacity that we have to notice something without judgment, without preconditions. Let our conditioning soften a bit, let our programming soften a bit, and see what it actually is. What is the texture, the substance, and the nature of our experience? So if you are over to the right in this twist, let's just straighten out the spine first. So bring the spine back to a straight spine, and then we can roll up from there, just safer than coming out of a twisted spine. And we'll keep the right leg extended, if you will. We'll take that left leg now and bring that back. And again, maybe if I show it from this angle, it's just an opening till that left hip starts to tug a bit. Yep. And then if you're over to the right, and this is just, this is just a reflection of not just the tightness, but the way the hips sort of, the ligaments pull. Yeah, a lot of our misalignments and far reaches of the body have a root in these ligaments of the pelvis that are holding in a certain way. So just put something on that right side if you're going way over to the right. Not so much you could put something on the left side, or again, you can just bring the body anywhere in the center between the two legs and just relax into this.
And that's what I just said. Let me say a little bit more about that because it's a very general kind of statement. Uh, and on one level, it is very true. On one level, that the ligamentation of your pelvis, the tightening there, the contracting there, radiates and has far-reaching effects in other parts of the body. That is true. With that being said, it's not that linear. The way that your body holds tension, the way that your body releases tension is not that linear. It's much more mysterious. So often, and this has been a really powerful part of my practice, is we don't want to think we know where something is. Very often where the symptom is quite far removed from the actual issue or problem or tightness or dysfunction, whatever you want to call it. And this comes from, studying the nature of the fascia itself, the nature of these connections and the interfoldings and the matrix of it. So I tend not to try to fix something, to say, oh, because I feel it here, this is where it is, but to allow the body to, contract and expand more globally. I mean, sometimes, yes, obviously we want to get in there and massage something or hold something and feel it. And I'm talking relative and ultimate, but uh, beneath the skin, beneath this envelope of our skin, it's so not linear. It's just all sorts of interesting, complicated, mysterious processes are going on. So not so um, often not so beneficial to, tell yourself something over and over about what your experience is, because in a way you're crystallizing it, but to find a way to open into more of what is the quality of your experience. So these processes and these conditions of our body, whether it feels purely physical or at some other level, everything has a quality. Our thoughts have qualities, our feelings have qualities, our body has qualities. How to feel into these qualities. And this often gives us a much better gauge and a much better guidance than the, the mental definitions that we need to place on something.
Okay, so let's come on up from here. And we can bring that leg back around. And now let us take a rest. So we'll lie down and take a rest. Again, just allow yourself to breathe, and just at the level of connecting with the breath, and allow yourself to feel yourself at the level of these qualities. I could also call it a fluidity. And this can help us so much, taking us out of the realm of feeling like we're this mechanical, linear thing, this mechanism, to more of a sense of freedom. Even if we have aches and pains, we want the fluidity. And we want to feel that our experience in the body in relation to the world is more like a dance. Because ultimately we're not stuck. We're not stuck in the body. We're not stuck in the mind. We're not stuck in the heart. We always have the opportunity to breathe and feel and allow this morphing to happen and allow this sense of I am to prevail. Even if it's for a short period of time, I am, not adding anything to it. I just am. Presence. So let's come on up, please. And I want to go back to something that we already did. And this is always interesting because we can see how the pelvis is feeling once again. So the very first thing we did, and I showed it with the bolster the first time, the big bolster. So I'll show it with something else this time. But if you have the big bolster, please use it. So we can just take some blankets and roll them up. And I'm taking this blanket and I'm putting it on top of a pillow just to kind of show you what's possible. And the same thing that we did when we began. And if you would like to, elevate it a little bit, if you have just the bolster and you want to add a blanket to the bolster, this blanket's not folded so nicely. That's just, yeah. So the first time we did this, we did it purely for relaxation. So I'm suggesting if you want a little bit more depth, you can use the bolster and put a blanket on it. Or if you don't have the bolster accessible, I have a pillow and I'm putting the blanket on it. And that should be enough. But like I said, the depth is up to really your pelvis. And then the same thing, we're going to have this bolstering, bring the pelvis up on it. Yeah, not the lower back. So the back of the pelvis up onto this contraption, and then feet on the floor, relax the upper body down, and just relax the legs out. This second time around, you may want to open the legs a little bit wider, let the arms relax, situate it just right, and again, we'll come into a nice place here. So again, it's to allow the blood to flow down, bring the hips above the upper body, but it also will pull on the psoas, yes, and compress into the pelvis. So going a little higher would be a good thing. Wow. So what I've really been suggesting is to develop a relationship with resistance. Begin to break any habits that you have of pushing resistance away. And there's many ways to do that. We all have our ways of coping. So part of the practice, and this is why we allow ourselves to kind of stew in uncomfortable positions, because that's an immediate expression of resistance that we get to explore. But our life is it has building blocks of resistance in different areas of our life. So I'm suggesting that we can start to be in relationship with resistance, conscious relationship with what we have been resisting. And allow ourselves, over time, this is part of the clarity. Part of the clarity is to see that we can sit with it. We have that capacity to sit with our resistance, to sit with our discomforts, and see what's there. See if we are able to find a deeper aspect of whatever it is. See if this resistance truly is covering something. If we're living in this sort of shell or crust of so many resistances, and are we able to just sit and sit and sit and sit and feel and feel and just sit with a certain clarity? So then the wisdom of the discomfort, the wisdom of the pain, we see that whatever healing we need, whatever insight we need it was embedded within that. And when I stopped resisting it, it was able to inform me, it was able to guide me, it was able to help me. So use a yoga asana to develop a relationship with resistance. And this can be also very interesting and beneficial to start with our breathing. Like I said earlier, the relationship between how the breath reflects tension in the body, the mind, and the heart. So if we can really connect with our breathing and not force it, but just breathe to your capacity, find the edge of your range of motion of your breath, and see if there's some resistance there. And the same thing on the exhalation. So much of our exhaling life gets minimized and the inhale gets maximized. So we can find resistance in our breathing. We can find resistance in our own mind, in our own beingness, really. So once again, you can bend your feet and put no, don't bend your feet, bend your knees and put your feet on the floor and have some mindful wiggling, a little swaying. Bring the knees up, whatever, again, feels good to feel this transitional energy from the tightness to the openness. And when you feel like it's starting to release, you can just roll on your side. So we'll come off the bolstering, roll onto your side, bring your knees up to your chest. Just we'll come into fetal position here for a bit. And then from the fetal position, just come on, sit up and get yourself a towel or a blanket, but just nice and low. So we don't want too much depth to it. I just want to use it to soften the ankle on whatever hardness you're on your mat or the floor. And then we're not going to do two sides of this. So sometimes I pick one side and do it longer. And again, this is to feel that the way that the body is holding all of this is not necessarily linear. Sometimes a longer hold just is a different thing than matching a hold on each side. So with that being said, you can pick which leg you want to go front. You can experiment. We're going to take one of the legs and bring it in towards us, so right or left, and then the other leg is going to be out in front on your blanket. So it's just an open square position, as open as you would like. And so if you feel like this one's a little tighter than the other side and you want to mix that, you want to change that, feel free to change it. It doesn't really matter. You can do your more open side or your tighter side. It doesn't matter. But as open as you would like. You can open it out. You can open this leg forward a bit. That's the beauty of the open square, is we just give it, we have those options. And then again, like I showed in that first forward bend, we're not going to lengthen the spine and come forward. We want to soften and really round the lower spine and really feel like, okay, that's where some resistance is. And then as the upper body comes forward, it's just slowly drawing us into that resistance to whatever the capacity is. And if you want something forward, that's always nice to rest your arms on or to rest your head on. So we'll just come into this nice open square and we'll hold it forever, or what may seem like forever. It won't be actually forever because forever and now are actually the same thing. So we're just holding it now, but we could call it forever. It's really interesting. I mean, don't get me started on time because I just won't stop. But I've been thinking more and more how interesting it is that just in a cultural context that time dictates so much of our life, and yet it actually doesn't exist. It's just something to contemplate. It's just wow. And do we have the capacity to play with that? Do we have the capacity to see that we project into the future and we project into the past, but we also have the capacity to come right into the texture of the present moment that is unfolding into the next present moment? And how do we use or how do we misuse time to create either a sense of freedom or a sense of anxiety in our life? It's a worthy contemplation. Oh, interestingly, I just happened to I opened Searching for Rain in a Monsoon once again, and this applies, I believe, to what I was just talking about with time. So I'll just share it with you. This is called impermanence. Observe your experience. How long does it actually last? The present sensation that is arising, is it here for a nanosecond or perhaps even less? Can you locate any experience that doesn't disappear as soon as it appears? All the names we give to these fleeting phenomena, are we naming what is actually here, or are we only ever describing what was, a memory that somehow lingers like an echo? Can we really describe experience, or is it simply too dynamic ever to be captured by a word? Amazing, isn't it? Oh, yes, it is amazing. So just notice then what it feels like if you don't name your experience. You just let the morphing of the experience happen without the compulsive need to name and label and define. Just allow your memory to disengage a bit. Who are you without the memory? Is there that presence again? Is there sense of I am? And this is why the cultivation of clarity is so fundamental to the study of the self, because the clarity allows us to relax into the subtlety without it getting distracted or reverting back to habits of the mind where we have to hold and label. So, not really necessary to have a certain discipline. What we're really cultivating in our yoga is this sense of clarity, this quality of clarity.
Good. So let's come on up from here.
And once you've rolled up from here, just open your legs out just to let the knees have a little bit of breath, rest. And we'll stay sitting. And I'd like you to you could just stay sitting with your legs straight if you'd like, or if you want to, I just want the spine to be elongated. So if you want to just bring the legs back in, we're not going to come forward. But what I'd like you to do is just sit, either the legs out or crossed. Relax your hands where they're very comfortable. And just take a moment to make sure the shoulders are at least aligned with the hips, so the chest is open. Gently just elongate the spine. So nothing to force, but just feel like there's a little bit of space between the vertebra. Relax your shoulders. If the chin is come down too much, try to bring the chin up so the bottom of the chin is parallel to the floor. And then I'd just like to invite you to breathe slowly, but very deeply. So begin to inhale and just keep inhaling until the lungs start to resist, and breathe a little bit more, but nice and slow so you're not forcing. And then just hold it a bit at the end of the inhale, just for a few beats. And then exhale nice and gently, but just try to keep exhaling to feel a bit of activity in the abdominal area. So you're really emptying the lungs and emptying the lungs and emptying the lungs, and keep slowing it down. And then inhale once again. And again, a little bit beyond what you think your capacity is, so you can come to that resistance, this range of motion of your breathing, and hold it. And just feel this retention in your body, just absorbing intelligence and oxygen. And then again, exhale. And really feel the release of the exhalation. Feel the benefits of emptying the lungs right down to the bottom of the lungs, your capacity to exhale. And then just do a few of these on your own, trying to balance the length of the inhale and the exhale. Hold it a bit, nice and slow. And just to begin to imagine that every cell in your body is gaining and feeling and appreciating this oxygen and this nutrition that you're breathing into every cell. And just slowing down, connecting with, appreciating that you're breathing, appreciating that you can breathe. So we're deepening and we're slowing, deepening and slowing, and really staying connected just with the whole
energetic, visceral sense of breath. Direct contact with the breath, but also just how incredibly mysterious it is as well. And again, the reminder, this intelligence that allows you to breathe is the same intelligence that allows you to awaken to this sense of I am, to this presence, to this awareness. And we opened our practice with resting in this open-ended awareness without any other sense of identification. And then you can either continue to breathe gently and sit here, or if you would like to lie down and come into final Shavasana, this would be the time to do that. So your choice. And this becomes our meditation. Our yoga meditation is just to simply rest with what is, as it is. We don't need to remove anything, to fix anything, to add anything. Namaste.